I'm Ashley Roscoe, and I'm a junior here at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I work for the Sustainability Office on campus, where I'm the Stream Monitor Coordinator. Stream monitoring is a program through the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. This program trains residents of the state of Wisconsin to collect different parameters or data on their local waterways. I'm standing here today in the beautiful Bluff Creek. Bluff Creek is a state natural area near Whitewater, Wisconsin. There are 6 different tests we conduct while stream monitoring. These parameters were created by the Water Action Volunteers in collaboration with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Throughout this video, I will go over how and why we measure each parameter. The first parameter we will take measurements on is dissolved oxygen. Dissolved oxygen lets us know what the amount of oxygen is in the water. This is important because certain animals or macroinvertebrates can only handle high levels. Trout, for example, are very sensitive to this. Trout need a very high level of dissolved oxygen to survive. They can become very stressed out and they can die off if they don't have enough oxygen. For our program, we use a hatch kit. A hatch kit is a dissolved oxygen kit, and inside it we have a couple different chemicals to help us determine how much oxygen is in the water. The next parameter we will measure is the temperature. The water temperature can affect the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water. The higher the water temperature, the less dissolved oxygen in the water, which can negatively impact aquatic life. The next parameter we'll measure is temperature. We take 2 measurements for this. We take the air temperature and the water temperature. The next thing we will measure is the transparency of the water. This is also known as the clarity or turbidity of the water. This test determines how much suspended sediment is in the water and the rate of visibility. If the turbidity is very high, then the water is very cloudy. If we have a low turbidity, this means the water is very clear. The next thing we'll measure is the clarity of the water, which is also known as the turbidity. In order to do this, we'll take our turbidity tube or clarity tube and stick the opening of it upstream of us. Once again, we don't want to get the sediment that we kicked up. That can give us inaccurate results. So what we'll do for this is we'll stick the tube all the way down in the water and fill it up. So once it's filled up, I'll go ahead and take my hand and place it over it so I keep the water within it. Now, once I have my tube filled up, I will stand up on the bank with the sun facing my back and look down at the bottom to see if I can see the black and white disc at the bottom, known as a Secchi or Secchi disc. If I can't see the black and white disc, that's okay. That just means it's a little cloudy in the stream. After I've looked at the top of the tube and I let out the amount of water I needed to, I will go ahead and place this back up on the bank and look for the water line. And as you can see, there's a tape measure on the side of this. So I'll just go ahead and line up where the water meets, and I will see how much water is left in the tube. The clarity of Bluff Creek, depending on the time of year, it usually sits between 110 and 120 centimeters. This can vary a little bit. Now, if I come out one day to monitor and I notice the clarity is something crazy like 30 centimeters, very low, that means it's very cloudy and there's a lot of sediment kicked up in the stream, I know there's something up. So I'll take this information, input it into the SWIMS database like I normally would, and then I may contact my local coordinator to let them know what's going on. The Wisconsin DNR may take this information, come out and take a further look. Now, for the clarity, we take 2 measurements. We do the same test twice, and then we take the average of the 2 results to find our official clarity of the stream. The fourth parameter we will measure is the stream velocity, also known as the stream flow. This is basically how fast the creek is moving. To do this, I have set up a 20-foot length along this bank behind me. So in order to do this, I have a tennis ball. I'll use the tennis ball and throw it at my first flag, which is my start. I'll start my stopwatch when that happens. The tennis ball will float along the river, and once it reaches my last flag, which is my end point, I'll stop my timer. We do this test a total of 4 times. And we also try to not throw it in the same spot each time. That way we can get the velocity over the width of the whole creek. Next, I will explain how we take measurements for the stream depth. This takes a cross section of the stream, so from bank to bank, and we measure the different depths of the creek along each foot. So as you may be able to see, I put the tape measure across from bank to bank, and I will go ahead and at each foot mark, I will take my net and measure just how deep the water is and record it at each foot. Now, as you may be able to see, I am at 4 feet in from the bank. So I will go ahead and stick my net into the water where it's at the base. And then I will look at the numbers on the net and determine how high up the creek comes. So it's a little bit difficult to read, but I can see it's right in between 13 and 14. So I'll call that 13.5. The last parameter we will be measuring today is the biotic index. The biotic index is a list of macroinvertebrates that we are looking for in the stream. This can tell us a lot about the level of pollution and the overall stream health. Now, our biotic index is split up into 4 different groups of macroinvertebrates. Group 1 is very sensitive to pollutants. You'll only find these macroinvertebrates in streams that are very healthy and have very low levels of pollutants. As we move down from group 1 to group 4, the amount of pollutants they can handle gets greater and greater. So level 1 can only handle a very small amount of pollution, while level 4, they're very hardy macroinvertebrates and can live just about anywhere. An example in this, what you might know, is a leech. Now this is useful because we know if we're finding level 1 macroinvertebrates in this stream that it is a very healthy and has very low levels of pollution, as these macroinvertebrates cannot live in areas with high pollution. Now, the biotic index also shows 3 different key aquatic invasive species we may find. So for this area, it is rusty crayfish, Asian clams, and New Zealand mud snails. Now, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources keeps track of these aquatic invasive species. So for example, if we're here in Bluff Creek and let's say that there is no record of any of these aquatic invasive species and we happen to find one, we can log on to the website and see if it's been reported before. If it has not been reported before, we can send in evidence to the Wisconsin DNR so they can update their list. This helps them keep track of and manage the invasive species. Now, aquatic invasive species are the bad guys of the lakes, rivers, and streams world. These species will come in and outcompete the natural species for resources. They reproduce like crazy so they can overtake an area very quickly, and they also, most of the time, do not have any natural predators. So this means that no one is eating them, so they can keep growing and growing until they overtake an area. A common example of this that you may know is zebra mussels. When we conduct a biotic index, we basically dig up little sections of the sediment and we collect it into our net. We then transfer that into buckets filled halfway with water. We're able to look and determine what macroinvertebrates are found. We have our water in our buckets. We actually want to find the macroinvertebrates we're looking for. So we'll take our net and put it behind us and we'll move around in the sediment and kick it up. This enables all the little creatures that are living right in the sediment to get washed into the net, which we will then pick up and then we'll place in our buckets. We'll then take a look. These are what our bins look like after we've collected our samples. If you can see, caught a cute little frog in here. So I'll go ahead and take him out and then we'll conduct the rest of our samples. So I released that little frog back in, and now I'll go ahead and take this spoon and I'll start digging around to find the different little macroinvertebrates. So probably my favorite macroinvertebrate to find are these 3 guys right here. And I know they actually look just like sticks and they don't even look like bugs at all. These are what we call caddisfly larvae. They actually take little sticks like this and build a little nest around them. So if you see, you kind of see this guy sticking his little head and his front legs out of his home. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you can start to understand what stream monitoring is and why it's so important. If you're interested in becoming a stream monitor, please visit www.wateractionvolunteers.org. This organization provides free trainings and equipment to residents of the state of Wisconsin. If you have any questions about this video, please contact the Sustainability Office at sustainability@uww.edu. If you're a student at Whitewater, we host stream monitoring volunteer sessions 3 times a month. You can come out into the creek and learn more about stream monitoring and actually participate and complete some of the different tests we do. We provide all equipment and instructions. To reserve a spot for a volunteer session, please email the Sustainability Office. Our overall goal with stream monitoring is to keep our Wisconsin waterways clean and healthy for future generations. So whether it be stream monitoring, picking up litter along your walk, or supporting local water quality nonprofits, let's all do our part to keep Wisconsin beautiful.